Hello, teammates, and welcome to The Goal Diggers, a program where we discuss stories of leadership and motivation, with sports serving as a metaphor dedicated to daily grinders, corporate athletes, and go-getters. This is Simone Haldon digging in with my co-hosts, Relisa Agustin and Robbie De Vera, and we are your resident Goal Diggers. So in our previous episode, we had a conversation with the phenom and volleyball icon, Eliza Valdez, who shared with us her 3 tips on how to build phenomenal confidence. So her first tip is seek the value in all things as preparation for life. Eliza never takes what's normally taken as a difficulty, as a negative experience, but instead welcomes it as something that can only make her stronger. And behind that mindset is her desire to challenge herself and to make her family proud, which is a great example of a strong motivation that can keep you going and perform at your best. And number 2, surround yourself with people you trust. In all the critical aspects of her life, Eliza has numerous people whom she doesn't only trust, but also has given her the support, love, care, and guidance that help build her confidence even more. And number 3, be unselfish and spread your light. Spreading the light gives Eliza the purpose to keep doing what she does and to continue learning her craft even more. She spreads the light not only through her Light by AV scented candles, but also in working towards growing volleyball in the country and providing top-level experiences for underserved communities. So Eliza shows us through the 3 tips she shared how someone from humble beginnings like her has made the most of what she has to become the phenom that she is. And now, with all her success, working towards providing similar opportunities to those who need them the most, she's able to make a larger impact. And speaking of opportunities, today we're gonna dig into the story of someone whose work creates these opportunities and learning spaces for the development of Philippine sports. But of course, before we delve into that, I wouldn't be able to do this without the help of my fellow goal diggers. So, Relly, Robbie, what can our teammates expect from this episode?
Thanks, Sim. Hey, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Gold Diggers. We're back again on this Saturday night. This time, we have with us a former national athlete, a former PSC Executive Director, a sports management guru, entrepreneur, and head of the Sports Management Council of the Philippines. Stay tuned as we dig in with this very passionate and very driven individual. I will pass it on to Robbie to formally introduce our special guest. Robbie, do the honors, please.
Thanks, Rels. Hey, teammates. We're excited once again to welcome our guest, fellow gold digger and a true Renaissance woman who's done so much, particularly in the fields of sports management and women empowerment. I'm so happy we're guesting yet another kindred individual here as Miss Dina Bernardo is on our program. So please stay tuned as we dig into her life story. Let's welcome her on board, Sim.
Thanks, guys. So today we have with us someone who has a unique sports career that we're very excited to learn from. And so as an athlete, she was the team captain of the Philippine women's dragon boat team that won 2 gold medals in the 2005 Southeast Asian Games and later became the chairperson of the Philippine Olympic Committee Athletes Commission. She was the first female executive director of the Philippine Sports Commission in 2010. She's involved with the Asian Association of Sports Management and the Asian Council of Exercise and Sports Science, and is the founder of the Sports Management Council of the Philippines. She became the first Filipina accepted into the inaugural class of the Global Sports Mentoring Program for Emerging Sports Leaders under the U.S. State Department, headed then by Secretary Hillary Clinton. Now she's a lecturer for sports marketing and strategic management at the De La Salle University and is currently pursuing her doctorate in business administration with a research focus on athlete and sport entrepreneurship. A strong advocate of progress in Philippine sports and women empowerment. And of course, I can't forget to mention how great a dancer she is. It's a privilege to share her story today. Let's welcome the one and only Dina Go Bernardo.
Hi, oh my God, you have to put that in. No. Hi, guys, and hi to all the viewers of Gold Diggers. I really love what you guys do. Deep diving into these sport personalities and managing to extract all the live lessons for everybody out there. Thank you so much.
It's really great to know that we have some support from you, Miss Dina. So just to kick things off, what have you been up to lately? Particularly, I mean, now it's pretty much the anniversary month of the pandemic. What has happened since then?
Well, you see, if I were to look at 1 year ago, diba, parang this is exactly the situation we're in. Are we going to face another lockdown? But back then, like you, like every sport-loving Filipino, we were really devastated and disappointed of in what's going to happen to sports. So I guess on my own, to alleviate this pain, we started hearing what others are going through, and parang on my own, sabi ko, well, this makes sense. Why don't we just come up with webinars? Let's help the community. Let's interact. And even now, in our 1 year anniversary, we're going to launch the sweep virtual conference next week, and probably we can talk about that later.
All right. Yeah, we're definitely going to ask you more about that because it's a very interesting event that you guys are organizing. And because of its scale, it's also one of the things I'm personally very excited to join. But other than that, what are the things that has inspired you during this pandemic?
You see, one thing for sure is how do we keep sports playing? We can't stop playing, especially now. The United Nations has called out to us and the Olympics has called out to keep people playing for many reasons. Sport fulfills a lot of the developmental goals. And even though we're on a lockdown, we never forget that it's still very important, especially with the prevalence of mental health issues. Can sport be part of it? And considering that the immune system is also going to be improved because of sports. So it's almost a no-brainer. It's just that a lot of the problems now is hurdling over this thing. And so if our job is to make people aware out there that sport is still important now more than ever, then let's do it.
So before, other than the sweep that you guys are preparing for, what other activities did you have early on in the pandemic?
It's not very easy to do a lot of things except mostly on the online. We were supposed to do a physical conference of women in sports, and it was all laid out. It's going to be done in Cebu because we put our money where our mouth is. If you want to be inclusive, you do it right smack in the middle of the Philippines. But again, that's not possible. So with this conference, it's interesting because not only local personalities will be around, but international as well. I mean, they don't know me, right? But all I had to say was, well, we're going to do this women empowerment. Are you in? And I'm just amazed that they said yes almost immediately.
I'm super looking forward to what you have to share about the conference, especially. But Robbie, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, so speaking about women empowerment and sports, so maybe let's dial it back a little bit, Miss Dina, and let's allow the audience to catch up with who you are first. So if you don't mind, can you tell us please how you began your athletic career?
Okay. Interestingly, unlike many of the athletes and probably you, I started my athletic career very late in life. I was actually in my late 30s. I hate to admit it, but my birth certificate said so. Okay. Although I was a fit person, and when I remember on our wedding day, my husband was commenting and critiquing on how expensive my wedding dress was. And all I said was, hey, don't worry, I'm going to wear it in 25 years. So then how do you do that, right? So I had to keep fit. And, sometimes when my husband is not doing right, I lift him and toss him away. So that helps keep my strength. But no, kidding aside, we had a business. We had several businesses. And one time we had a horrible downfall. We had partner issues. And I sought sports as a way to relieve the stress. Found myself in Manila Bay in Dragon Boat. And why Dragon Boat? As a half Chinese person, the story of Dragon Boat resonated with me. It was a story about rising above corruption. This guy threw himself in the river, things like that. And seeing it on TV, it's really such a. It looks so glamorous, and everybody doing it together. So I found myself there. I said, okay, might as well do it. It's part of my bucket list, and that's how I got to dragon boat racing.
Thanks, Miss Dina. And from your career so far, it's not just limited to Dragon Boat. Your experience and your involvement with sports. Since your Dragon Boat days, you've also managed to take on some leadership roles. And can you tell us a few things about what has happened after your your Dragon Boat experience, and but maybe what has come from the Dragon Boat experience as well?
Um, you see, the dragon boat experience really taught me a lot of things. Considering the fact that I had a corporate background already, I took my master's degree, but sport really taught me a lot of things. Um, it taught me tolerance. Look, you're in a dragon boat, and look at this seat. It's small and scrunchy, and parang if your coach tells you to sit on that seat, are you gonna complain? No. As a leader, he feels that you should be in that seat. So how do you make the most of the situation? No, and I think it also allowed me to value and to sort of for somebody who loves her country very much. I think the greatest achievement and the greatest fulfillment is to wear the Team Philippines on your back, right? And for me to be shoulder to shoulder with all these athletes from all walks of life. I mean, most of them are probably not like me. Let's face it, they're not like me. But they're some of the most selfless and generous Filipinos I've ever known. And it's such a source of pride for me to have been playing with them.
That's great, Miss Dina. I totally agree with you there on the most honor you can bring your country is really representing it in like international competitions. Totally agree with that. And you didn't mention that you actually won a couple of gold medals for your stints in sport in Dragon Boat. So that's what I wanted you to mention there. That's totally great. No, so I mean, it's such an amazing thing that despite the late start, so to speak, as you had put it, it was quite an achievement. How do you feel about that?
It's not easy. Obviously, I think people forget how difficult it can be to get that gold medal. It's literally blood, sweat, and tears. It's years of planning. So when I came to the team, that was about 2003, and one of our turning points was that we were rejected to attend the 2003 SEA Games. Why? Because our coach said, "Oh, maybe they can win a bronze." And so, would the Philippine government put their bets on a team that could win a bronze? So that won't do. So I ended up managing the men's team at the time. And at the time, I remember telling the men's team, I was so excited. And I said, "Sir, can I meet with the Dragon Boat team?" And also I met with the guys, and they were like very uninterested. So, guys, I don't have experience managing a team, but this is what I promise you. I will do everything to make you get the gold medal. And up at that point, they have only won bronze in previous competitions. So how was I supposed to do that? So I guess as managers, you have to strategize. Now, how do we get there? These are the gaps. Then how do you get there? I remember that I was with them for psychology lessons. I was with them in nutrition. I would weigh them. At night, I would bring ice to their rooms just for their joints and stuff like that. And I remember we hired a bus in Vietnam because it was in Vietnam. Went on the bus and brought them to Hanoi just so they could get the physical therapy from the Philippine Sports Commission. So can you imagine just making sure that all the elements are there for you to produce that winning athlete? Of course, the training, it's a given. It's already there. And there were two competitions at that time. One was I think it's a 1,000 meter race, and the second one was a 500 meter race. The first one, they already won silver. And they were so happy. They were jumping because that was the first time ever they got the silver. And that night, I knew that I had to give them a powwow meeting again. So the cleanest room we had was my room. Imagine piling 24 guys and a sports psychologist in that room. And so after that, the psychologists did their thing. The next day, they won the gold by point 0.3 of a second to win the gold. That's a Cinderella story there.
I agree. That's quite an accomplishment, Miss Dina, no? And have your accomplishment as an athlete, and of course, starting late in the game, right? And actually achieving something that no one has ever achieved. And I like your story about managing the team and actually being hands on. You're just really down there, getting your hands dirty and making sure that the athletes are comfortable, and quite an accomplishment for them to get a medal. And I think it's all because of you, or in terms of your dedication, to this whole endeavor.
Well, to be fair, really, I mean, I can't put everything naman on me. But can you imagine if all of us just work together and putting all these elements, then it can work. So because there are so many factors in winning, in coming up with a winning team. Sometimes when people say, "Oh, why did you lose?" Oh, it's because kulang ng suporta.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if kulang ng suporta, there's nothing else you can do. Well, this is the life of the Philippine sports. There will always be not enough. Now, strategize. What can you do instead? What are things within your control?
That's right. All the little things that you can control, can actually create that spark, and it can actually influence everyone, to see the improvements that are there, and it will actually motivate people to actually work together. Teamwork nga makes the dream work. That's what you always say here with the Gold Diggers, no. But okay, Ms. Dina, besides your colorful career, in the sporting scene as an athlete, what other activities outside of sports or indirectly of sports are you connected to? Are you passionate about? And I think you mentioned that you've shared the stage with a very famous personality, I think. So care to share that story with us?
It's interesting kasi siguro because I come from, number one, a multiracial background. I'm half Chinese, and the other half is actually mixed Spanish Filipino. So I guess that gives you a very diverse view of a lot of things. On one hand, you have that straight lace work ethic, and on the other hand, this is the drinking and the dancing and the artistic people. And so it led me to be open to a lot of experiences. And so one time, I think I was trying to we tried to get pregnant and it didn't work. Got so bored, I opened the Diario and said, okay, auditions for Broadway musical with Lea Salonga. And, I said, oh, can I do this? And my husband, being supportive, why not you try? And so I landed a role, even though it's a chorus role, but it was how many performances with Lea Salonga, some of the best people, that the best seat in the house was on that stage. This Broadway actor, of course, Lea Salonga. That was really a treat. To his credit, trivia. Lea has a photographic memory, okay? So I think almost 11 years after, she even pointed to me, oh, Dina Bernardo. She said, oh my gosh. I mean, she could have ignored me, right? I mean, I barely even saw her, but she told the sales lady, please tap that woman on the shoulder. And she called me by name. What a great person she is.
Oh, that's really quite an honor. No?
Yeah.
I mean, being in the performance arts with Lea Salonga, who's quite a professional, by the way. I think everyone knows that. She's really a professional. Besides performance arts, anything that you're pursuing right now? I understand that you're also a professor in De La Salle with sports marketing, and then you're actually pursuing your doctorate degree now?
Yes, so, I'm still a business person as well. And it's about bringing my experiences as a business person and melding it with my experience in sports. So sometimes people ask me, well, how did you study sport management? And I tell them, well, I have a fantastic internship. I was in the national team for 5 years. I was with the Philippine Olympic Committee for more. I think 8 years in total. And I was with the Philippine Sports Commission. So I kind of went around all that Philippine sports thing. And so that's what I bring to teaching. It's from a practitioner point of view. I teach sport management, sport marketing, and also strategic management. And I think that's one of my favorite roles right now. I think I'll always get a kick about the sense of wonder that you instill in them. And most of all, if I get a brilliant answer from them back, wow, it just makes my entire term so much worth it. So I'll keep doing it as long as I can.
I'd like to dial in on the circumstances surrounding your opportunity to be a part of the Dragon Boat national team. So, can you share with us how the opportunity came about and what you did when it presented itself?
Okay. So I was already with the club team. But about 5 months later, there was like an announcement for tryouts for the national team. So me being me, that I want to try. So I go to my husband and I said, "Hey, guess what? There's this tryouts. I really want to see how far I can go, but there's just one minor problem, and that I'm above the age limit by almost 10 years." Again, credit to my husband for saying, "Hey, just do it." And so I went back to that Dragon Boat Club team, fawning whether, okay, should I? And to the credit of my coach, his name is Agot De Quilla. He made an announcement, okay, who wants to go? And I said, "Coach, can I?" And he said, "Okay, I'm gonna." He runs to the head coach of the national team and says, "I've got a candidate. Would you want to see her?" "Well, how old is she?" 36. But he said, "No, malakas po to. You have to see her." So wherever I am now in sports, all thanks to that guy.
I'd just like to get an idea also of how training was like for you in the Dragon
wow.
Boat team. Yeah. And like, how the regimen was. Was it every day? What time did you have to wake up?
The regimen was pretty tough because I had to wake up like maybe 4:30 in the morning. But guess who wakes up earlier than I do? So my kasambahay should already be preparing my food for the day.
Mhm.
Okay, so I rush out, and I swear to you, the most dangerous time to travel in Manila is around 5:30 because the street lights are out. It's pretty dark. The drunkards are just coming home. And so I'd go there, I'd work out probably the whole morning, and then I come back in the afternoon to work in the office. And at night, I have to train again. And so there was one hurdle that I couldn't do. That was running. Can you imagine? Have you guys had that 12-minute test around the oval?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I was saying to myself, but we're a paddling sport. Why do we have to run so fast? And I had to achieve it or else I wouldn't be in the team.
Mhm.
So what did I do? I bought a book in National Bookstore. The complete book of running. Okay, I can't go wrong with this. And me being a physical therapist, syempre, I understood the concepts. So in the evening, I'd be looking for a hill just to run and crying from sheer exhaustion. And I said, I've got to do this or else I'll never ever know what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that being 30 something and new to a sport on top of so many very important responsibilities can really be intimidating. And the fact alone that you had to go through all of that, I mean, it's really no joke, the preparation. But so what made you say yes to the challenges that you faced? And at that time that you raised your hand when the coach asked, why did you raise your hand?
I think it's always, you don't want to live a life of regrets. And I never ever want to have that feeling that I never even tried. Of course, I've had failures. There's no question about it. But at least you could say, hey, I tried that.
At least you tried it.
Yes. And besides, for all that stress I ever had at work, being in that team, even though it had its own set of stresses, uh, gave me a chance to rest, to focus. I think it really saved my mental health at the time. can you imagine? I remember that I would wake up in sweats at around 5 o'clock in the morning because of all these problems, the debts, the fact that you have to fire 200 people. Okay. And I look at my watch and oh my gosh, I have to go for my practice now. But for those few hours, it literally saved me. So afterwards, then I go back. But at least I got the chance to rest.
Yeah. So for the audience benefit, we'll just put it back into context. Dina actually got into Dragon Boat also as would it be right to say as a an escape or a distraction from what you were going through during that time? And you actually mentioned in your words, you leaned into Dragon Boat during that particular period in your life when you guys were having some challenges in your business. So of course, going through all of that, I mean, dealing with the mental aspect as well of the stresses of having to let go of hundreds of people. What else helped you go through that time?
It's important to have the support of your family as well. And as long as I have my husband behind me to support me, then it worked pretty well. It's not easy, but I just needed to do what I have to do. And again, being able to fulfill that role. I mean, who can ever say that they've done this? And I remember also pinching myself every day. I go to the boat. I see this oasis in the middle of Manila where the air is fresh, the wind in your face, the sun. And I said, I thank God every day for that time that I was in the Dragon Boat team, the national team. I'll never forget those feelings, no? Because life is so fleeting, and I just wanted to remember that this is the time that I felt my best. So I guess everybody should always be mindful of where they are right now, and be thankful as well.
But you actually shared with us that you were driven since childhood. Where did you get that drive?
I think I don't know. I think it's a matter of personalities. All my life, it's always hurdling a barrier one way or another. Whether it's your dad saying that women have no place in business, or like your mom who thinks that you can't make it to UP, or that I can't even make it to my course because it's a code course. So I guess that's been always my life, and so even going to all of even going to master school, I have a medical background. So how the heck can I make it to the master's degree? There was a stringent application procedure. For 2 weeks, I decided not to leave my room and study for the GMAT. It's like an entrance exam, right? So two weeks, and then I made it. And so yeah, so I think in life you will always get something like this, and you really have to try it all the time.
I love how you found motivation despite the fact that people kept saying that it can't be done, and you just kept on and you just did what you had to do, no matter what sort of stigma came with your decision. Even in the Dragon Boat team, it's the fact that you were like 10 years above the age limit and still you pushed through. You decided to raise your hand, and they still considered you. And for sure, that's one of the best decisions they ever made. Otherwise, one thing wouldn't have led to another, and they wouldn't have gotten that gold medal. And I'm sure you're gonna say it's not your own effort, but you definitely played a huge role there as well. But from your experience in the Dragon Boat team, eventually you got into sports management, and you're doing so much now in terms of pushing sports management forward. And you even started an NGO, and you're also in the academe. So how did your involvement in sports management start? And what was your realization? What made you decide to pursue a career on really pushing or or promoting the standards of sports management in Philippine sports?
So in master's degree, we had quite a rigorous training. Literally, we must have studied about 1,000 companies in various industries. So you develop these critical thinking skills, right? So here I am in the sports setting, and we've always wondered, okay, what makes Philippine sports work? What are the components? Who are the players? What are the factors affecting it? And so I took it like a lesson, right? You evaluate. Oh, so this is what makes it tick. Now, somewhere about, I think, on my second to the last year of being an athlete, my former professor in the master school called me. He happened to be former PSC chairman Popoy Huico, who at that time was starting the master's degree in LaSalle. I don't know how he knew that I was in sports, so he called me up, and I regard him as my mentor since. And that's how I dip my fingers in sport management, even though I have not taken the course itself, because it's just like management, but in a different field. You don't question that there's hotel and restaurant management. You don't question that there's construction management. So why not sport management? However, the sport management in this country is still very much in its infancy, despite the fact that we've had sport management in the US since the 60s. But do you agree that it's still kind of not so accepted? If not accepted, not as recognized. And so part of my duty now is to educate as much people as possible, starting with the students. No.
So what was the mentality in terms of your stint in sports management? If I'd say you actually became the manager of the Dragon Boat team at some point, and then because before that you weren't really that deep into sports, but eventually because of your experience in the Dragon Boat team, and then one thing led to another also post your stint in the Dragon Boat team, and now you're in sports management. What is that mentality in terms of you coming into that and wanting to provide something better, at least in terms of managing sports in the country?
Yes, well, so far, our notion of sport management might be more of the North American examples. So what I'm bringing is more practitioner based, more contextual, which I feel we all need. So we really encourage more of practitioners like you to come out and also teach, because it's going to be very different from how it's being done in America versus how it's being done here.
Yeah.
And I really like my role as a teacher because you also learn in the process. No, so I'm gonna keep on teaching. Besides, until the time that we feel that the industry can improve or we can really professionalize sport management in the country, then we're all better for that.
Mm-hmm. So before we move on to Robbie and Relly, I just want to know, what was that? What did you tell yourself when you finally decided, okay, let's do this. Let's provide all these opportunities for sports development in the Philippines. What were the words that you told yourself?
If there's anything that I learned and observed in all my years in sport, is that there are so many people out there, sport professionals, who are doing their own thing. Diba? If many people can even know half of what I know about all these great professionals. Sometimes we always like to look at the people from abroad. So look, why? There are so many talented people over here. So I wish to really bring that out and make people realize that the talent is actually here, and who better to care about sport management than us. So that's what keeps me going. So when I formed the Sport Management Council, it's really to help convene all these efforts, if I can, to the best of my abilities. Because I'll never say that I know everything. No, it's you guys, you, all helping out each other. Because if there's anything that will make us really succeed in sports, it's getting our act literally together.
I love the point on all of us working together, and although it's something that's easy to say, but something that we usually forget to do or neglect to do. And there's so much power in working together as well in bringing anything forward. So we'd like to know more, of course, about everything else that you're doing. So I'd turn you over now to Robbie. So Robbie, take it away.
Thanks so much, Sim. So lots to learn there from just the Dragon Boat opportunity. Miss Dina has opened up a lot of things. Overarching theme I got from your particular portion earlier was the value of grit. No, so it's all about your drive or being driven to prove people wrong about you. In several aspects in your place in the family business, raising your hand for the national team, conquering that masters, and later on also being driven to pursue and progress sports management, right? Especially I like that tidbit on the encouragement from former chairman Popo Huico. That's a great story, one for the books. I also like the drive that you have for teaching and for lifelong learning. That's also something that we should aspire to. And also, lastly, I also love the point on not needing to look beyond our shores for some best practices. And that's why we're doing what we're doing here in the Gold Diggers, highlighting stories like yours, where people can really learn from. So I'd like to dial in now, Miss Dina, on what has transpired beyond the Dragon Boat phase in your life. No, I mean your late start in sports, so to speak, was unique in the sense that yours usually isn't the path that normal athletes take, right? And what even made it more amazing were the opportunities that emerged from it, from your sporting success. So from your time in the National Dragon Boat team, you've managed to become appointed to leadership roles in the PSC and the POC. So what did you bring to the table that you feel merited that appointment, and what was your contribution with regard to those assignments?
Siguro it helped also that I was on a mature side. So I guess it was apparent that I'm mature and I could lead. And I remember when I convened the athletes commission, and I at that time it was Kong Piping who was president of the POC, and I said, sir, so what does an athletes commission do? And sabi niya, it's up to you. So I did my research again. If you are to look at the athletes commission, because all NOCs, National Olympic Committees, have to be like mirror images of the IOC. And all these commissions are there. So down the line, then you should have all these commissions as well. The true function of an athletes commission is to help athletes transition to life after sport. That was really the original. But in the case of the Philippines, I felt that it okay, I know that, but athletes need representation. They need a voice. They need somebody to follow up on their issues. So when we convened, and that's exactly what we did, we just represented the athletes, whether to leadership or to anything that had to be done in the PSC. So that was our role.
Yeah, what I like about what you said was it really speaks about the value of experience when you said that the maturity that you had and the leadership that you brought to the role allowed you to get exposed to that opportunity with working with the PSC and with the POC. So if I were to articulate it, it's like bringing your strong foundation in on your business end, like the management and the leadership that you got from your business experience, and bringing that to your sports roles. I like that, and especially how you help address the athletes' concerns representing the athletes commission. Now,
Yes, because I'm sorry, because you have to look at the gaps. So not just because this is like given on you. I think part of managing is really understanding what are the needs, right? So that's all you did. That's all we did, and I believe we fulfilled our role in that aspect.
totally agree with addressing those pain points, Miss Dina, as part of the strategy. Now, it's not enough that you already brought honor to the country with your double gold in 2005, as well as the contributions that you made in the PSC and POC. You've even become an educator and an advocate of sports management and sports marketing, and you've set up your own NGO, the Sports Management Council of the Philippines, or SportPhil. So what's the point, and why are you doing all these things when, badly put, no one even asked you to do it in the first place?
Again, I just felt there's a need. If I want to elevate the profession, then probably the best is to convene a group. And in fact, we plan to convene the sport management schools in the country. And there are probably less than 10. Because who better to push the agenda forward than to get these schools who have really practically trailblazed for sport management to happen. So that's also the goal. And also the goal is there a way for me to really kind of convene all of these efforts through us? For example, part of the issue that is part of the issues in managing organizations is, are there services or shared services that we can avail of? Because if you are to do it on your own, then it'll be very difficult. So your org, your org. So can we possibly provide so that we can allow you to do what you need to do, and not have to bother about these other non-core functions of your organization? So that's the dream. Eventually, I want to do that.
Yeah, totally agree on the value of economies of scale there. And then, of course, being athlete led now in terms of like the community itself progressing itself forward. And then thanks to your help with the organization. So while now you have sweep, and we'll get to that later on all of the details of the sweep. You mentioned that your issue on women empowerment was something that wasn't on your scope initially. So what's the story behind how you got your awareness on the need for women empowerment, and how did that later on take your attention and later on the agenda?
So I guess culturally here in the Philippines, there's this machismo culture, right? Mostly probably an Asian thing. So growing up, it's even your own parents who think that women's roles are supposed to be in a certain way. And I felt that was okay. I thought that's the way the world works. And even when I was in Dragon Boat, I think that even the best compliment I ever got, I felt, was, "Hey, Dina, you paddle like a man." Tuwang-tuwa ako noon. Wow, I paddle like a man. But looking back, I said, "Oh my gosh, why? What's wrong with paddling like a woman? Is it like all women are like this or lampa or whatever?" So, and the only way that I realized that there was such a disparity, or some sort of marginalization, was when I was taken for that program in the United States, Women Empowerment Through Sports. And being in that room with all of these women, like they're from Kenya, Zimbabwe, or Australia, and it's like, oh wow, that's happening in your country, it's happening in mine, and I guess we gotta do something about it. And so it's so nice to see these commonalities, even if you're just thousands of miles across the world. This is a universal phenomenon. And that's why it has become my mission and a commitment that I come back here and try to do my share of how we can empower women through sports.
Yeah, totally agree with that, Miss Dina. No, so sometimes we're so nose deep into what we're doing that we fail to see like the bigger picture. So it really sometimes take an overview, like a perspective beyond our own to really see what the issues that are affecting us, right? So totally love that. And I don't want to occupy most of your time. I'll pass it on to Relly because we really want to know more about the sweep that you're gonna be holding next week. Thanks, Miss Dina.
Thanks, Rob. So, yeah, Miss Dina, I like that whole story of that paddle like a man and how it actually triggered you now to actually push for women empowerment. No? And with this constant need for empowering women, I think you, Ms. Dina, have made it one of your goals, right? Main goals when you got back, to make sure that women are given importance, are given a voice, and perceive that they too can compete, lead, and be pillars of change in the world of sports, which you have actually done yourself. How do you see this coming to life, and what are the challenges that you see that need to be overcome to make this happen?
So since I've been doing quite a bit of women empowerment programs, I discovered that for that one effort that we've done, it doesn't totally address the problem. Let me give you an example. So you come in, you train the teachers on how to engage women and girls in sport. Okay, you've taught them, they're happy, they go back to their schools and realize that their administration will not support them, right? So parang sayang yung mga efforts. Now I realize that we have to tackle the ecosystem. Is it policy? So what policies could we have in driving that women in sport agenda? If we need to evaluate whether we're successful in a certain program, then we need research. Aside from the training and aside from, okay, now you got me into sport, I'm empowered, now what? What's out there for me, whether in sports or entrepreneurship pursuits? So all of that is like a value chain, right? Getting that girl into sport all the way to, making her independent and empowered. But really, I just want to say that I guess when doing this sweep, I'm not telling the world na parang, hey, hire me because I'm a woman or look at me because I'm a woman. No, we just want everybody else to see us as being as equally capable as everybody else. There shouldn't be a difference. And eventually, that's why if we're successful at what we're going to do for sweep, then maybe 5 or 10 years down the road, we don't need a sweep. We don't need to be reminded that women have to be empowered. So we have to be, maybe the job here is to be irrelevant because that is the essence of empowerment when you no longer need these types of intervention.
Good. I see where you're coming from. You've been mentioning sweep so many times, but tell us, for the audience, what is sweep all about, and what is sweep? What is sweep all about, and how did it come to be?
So early on, you realize also that there are probably nuances or parang unique aspects in getting a woman and girl into sport, and many are very uninitiated in that. So far, we had men coaching women. Not that that's an entirely bad thing, but maybe for now we can show them how it is to get a woman and girl in sport. Aside from that, we want to encourage other women to assume these leadership or technical roles by introducing them to coaching and technical positions. And most of all, I feel that if we want to push this agenda, we have to have a high visibility, whether it's athletes in leadership or women doing their thing. And for as long as we keep them visible, then we reinforce that agenda.
That's great, and you've seen the lineup of notable speakers for sweep, which by the way will be on March 24 to 26, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 24 to 26. In fact, by that time, by next week, and we hope to open even the platform. We're trying to do new things. It's not just going to be on Zoom. It's going to be on a conference platform because we want to hopefully bring the best that we can within the resources that we have for the sports people to experience. I'll tell you a story. Back when we were doing the sport and recreation management in master school, so us, the professors and the students that we had a mission. So the UAAP swimming was coming up, and we said, hey, why don't we tackle that event? Let's take on it. It's a project for the class. And all we want to do is bring the best athletes to the best venues. So if it's swimming, then the best venue at that time was the Trace College swimming pool, which is all like international specified with all those anti-waving systems and all those touch Columbia, whatever. And we did. And it was marvelous. You can't believe how many records were broken that time. It was unprecedented. That first year, 44 swimming records were broken. Why? Because we gave them the best venue. They felt motivated. We took care of the coaches. We took care of the athletes. We fed them. So imagine bringing that experience all the time. And so probably even with this conference, it's like, okay, if this is what's out there, do you think we can deliver it para naman ma-experience ng mga participants natin? Even though it's a lot digital and probably there's a learning curve. Let's see. But this is the way it's going to be. Even exhibitors, some we're saying, hey, just come. You don't know what a virtual booth could be like. Well, this is it. Let's all learn together. So hopefully the next time it's not going to be so difficult. But right now it's a new frontier, I must tell you. And I'm really scared and at the same time excited for what can happen. And there's so many things that I think we can still extract from this. Can I tell you that we also plan to launch the best PE endemic program. Why? Because if there's anything that we should herald out there, it's all those PE teachers and sport trainers that kept the children playing despite connectivity issues, despite that they don't have laptops and they live in the boondocks. So I said, I rounded up these PE educators and I said, hey, what do you think? And I think we're gonna do it. We're gonna showcase at least two to three during sweep, and maybe from every week from there on, other contributors can come and it will be like a showcase. Let's learn something. Let's elevate PE. Because PE has always been like, PE lang yan eh. Oh my God, I hate that, diba? I mean, what subject in school will teach you how to communicate, to get up when you're down, or how to be fit? Definitely math and science can do that. People should look at PE as education because it's physical education. So again, another thing that we're going to try to do because it just has to be done, I think.
That's great. No? And then again, for the audience, no, Ms. Dina has been mentioning SWEEP. SWEEP actually stands for Sport for Women's Empowerment and Employment Program.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yes, and I have to say that it has grown in a sense that because now you see that inclusion is not just for women. Now it's also for the PWD. And if I'm lucky, we can, in fact, I think she's on board, a person from the Special Olympics. Not the Paralympics, not just the Paralympics, but the Special Olympics. So sometimes the mission keeps getting bigger. Parang, oh, sila rin pala, kailangan ng inclusion. Oh, sila rin pala. It's not gonna end. I don't know when it's gonna end. So after this, because there's another thing that I have to pursue. And you'll interview me again for that.
Definitely,
whatever
definitely.
that is.
So my last two quick questions, Ms. Dina. So are you saying that the objective of SWEEP is really to enlighten women, or is it a call for them to take action after they've gone through this whole conference? And then number two is you mentioned that you wanted to eradicate SWEEP in the future, right?
Yes.
2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, this shouldn't be an event anymore. What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess I want for this conference, I want to bridge like-minded trainers, educators, athletes to come together. If you believe in women and community empowerment through sports, please be there. So part of the hurdle is, hey, is this only for women? No, it's not. But if you believe in women empowerment and community empowerment, then I suppose you have to be there. We have 6 program tracks in that conference. And there's bound to be something for you, whether in the sport for community, whether it's in virtual sport competitions. I dare you to look at it and not find something that I think you will resonate with. So we need everybody on board for that value chain to happen.
And definitely you can count us in, Ms. Dina. We will definitely be there. But please let us know how, or tell the audience how we can actually register, for this conference.
Oh, thank you. In the website of sportfil.com and also in the Facebook, you will see it's already there. Sweep 2021, if you can Google that. And we also have a bit.ly for Sweep 2021, so people can come here to register or to know about the conference.
So thank you so much for sharing your life story with us and everything that you do. We've learned so much from your life story. And, if you were to summarize, what can we learn from your experience on how to challenge the status quo?
For me, I think it starts with you. It starts from one person to care first. Because you're bound to find another person who also cares about the same thing you do. I think that's one of the safest things to do if you want to challenge the status quo. I'll never forget the ache that I see in every Filipino who yearns for maybe a better sports. And that's the ache that inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing.
Oh, that's really great, Miss Dina. It's very inspiring as well. So just allow me to recap for our audience also what we've gathered from what you shared with us today on how to challenge the status quo. So what we got, the first tip is have grit. be driven to prove people wrong and continue to work on yourself. And number 2, be courageous and have that strong need to make things happen. And number 3, be deliberate and improve the ecosystem. So Ms. Dina's work, for example, focuses on bringing people together, providing the opportunities and spaces for people to work together and bring Philippines sports forward. So again, so much to learn from you, Ms. Dina. And well, now it's time for our next segment that we call Crunch Time. So,
Oh no, what's that?
well, we're gonna throw you some questions, and you're gonna have to answer them as fast as you can. And there's no need to explain unless we cannot help but ask. So, are you ready?
I think so. Oh no, I see this in Boy Abunda. Is it something
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly what it is.
like that? Oh no. Sige. Come on. Ay,
Okay.
nothing
Sige.
controversial, huh?
Of course.
Sige.
I will never know. All right. First question: sports person or sports fan?
Sports person.
Favorite coach?
Oh my gosh. Pat Riley? Because he looks so dapper. Pat Riley.
Okay, Miss Dina, dragon boat or love boat?
Come on. Dragon boat na lang. Yan.
Yeah.
Those are my-
Favorite sports icon?
Wow. I guess Kobe really, Kobe's one of a hell of a guy. We all miss him, I'm sure.
Most memorable sports experience?
Winning the gold in the SEA Games.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other sport you can excel in other than paddle sports?
Oh, wow. I was a good dancer, I have to say. Tama si Simone.
I agree.
I
I've seen the
I
videos.
love dancing. If my niece could take it, I would still do dancing.
Favorite sports film?
Sports film. I wanted to say Mighty Ducks, but no, wag naman. Favorite
That's good.
sports film.
Classic. Bro.
That was a
yeah,
good one.
It's still a good one.
That's okay. Gosh, I feel so dated. Sige na, Mighty Ducks. No, but the whole 9 yards. I think I like the
It's good
more
too.
like heavy. Oh, ito. A League of Their Own. You've got to love a League
There's
of Their
no
Own.
crying in baseball.
And also 42, I also like 42.
Okay.
I'm not a player of baseball. I love watching baseball. Love it.
Sorry.
I love going to the stadiums too.
It's a really good list.
Okay, Ms. Dina, end goals or process goals?
Wow. Siguro process. And it's a journey. It's a journey. And the end is never, ever the end.
Mhm.
Okay, now for some non-sports questions. What about your hobbies in life apart from sports?
Gosh, I love museums. You know, I once went to 6 museums in 3 days. You could leave me there. In 3 different towns, This was in Holland, you know. I was all by myself. I went. I love traveling. I guess I love traveling. I should tell you about my experiences like in Mongolia or stuff like that.
For our next interview.
Yeah.
Your favorite non-sports film?
I feel so dated na naman eh. You watch this film, The Rock. It's about Alcatraz in good actors.
Pretty good,
I like
Sean
that
Connery.
movie.
Right. Oh, Sean Connery. Yeah, I love that film. I could watch it over and over. I don't
Welcome
know
to
why.
the walk.
Yeah. Oh, good naman already. I like the second Rocky film. Si Simone, sabi niya, what's that?
Ay, nako.
I kept
Sim,
quiet, but that was going on.
mute yourself, Sim.
Just rerun, so go figure.
Okay.
Okay.
Favorite color?
This one.
Favorite food?
Favorite food, mongo. I can eat it morning, noon, and night.
Skills learned during the pandemic.
This one, Zooming, I have to say. And all the apps, all the cash apps. Yeah.
Okay.
Diba? Gcash, whatever.
Okay. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Hmm? Is it corny to say, flying?
No, it's fine.
How come everybody says flying, no? Kasi, you see everything. I think it's flying. You see, I have flying dreams, and there's a reason for that. I don't know why people have flying
That's great.
River or ocean?
dreams. Good question. River.
Favorite book?
My favorite book would be, I don't know, I'm a nonfiction reader. I'm a nonfiction reader. Or maybe my favorite book would be Alien. Fiction, Alien. Scared the hell out of me.
Person who made the biggest impact in your life.
Whew. Person who made the biggest impact. I think it's my father. Even though he is what he is, but he can't help how he was brought up. But everything I am, as far as how I treat people, about work ethic, about his common sense, even though he never graduated, but he can, even a master's degree will get challenged by the way he thinks. And of course, my husband, who without him, who because of him has allowed me to become me and to become all that I can be.
Nice.
Great. Life purpose in 3 words.
Nakabahan ako. Life purpose in 3 words. I think, I think I said it already kasi parang I just want to become all that I can possibly be and do all that I can possibly be. Dalawa lang yun.
Doobie-doo.
Doobie-doo. Doobie-doo.
Your
It's
best.
so simple.
Your best.
Yeah. Do your best. Try. Try.
Alternative career.
I want to be a paleontologist or Egyptologist. I could be making kut the dirt all day and I'll be the happiest. Huh?
It's like Ross Geller. Okay.
Ah.
Okay, so the final question, Miss Dina. Favorite quote?
Nelson Mandela, it all seems impossible until it's done.
Perfect way to end our crunch time. So thank you, Miss Dina, for sharing your experience and time with us and for being super game to answer all our questions today. And now we've come to the end of the episode of our for our final messages. So Relly and Robbie, let's share with our teammates what we have in store for them in our next episodes.
Thanks, Sam. So there you have it, folks. On behalf of the Gold Diggers, I would like to thank you and, of course, Miss Dina Bernardo for joining us tonight. Please do share your thoughts with us on our Facebook page and tag the Gold Diggers PH. Or you can post or comment on our video uploads on Facebook and YouTube. We'd really love to hear from you guys. Thank you also to everyone who has followed us on Facebook and subscribed to YouTube. If you haven't liked or followed us, we hope you can click that button and continue to dig with us. Tune in next week as we dig in with this talented and experienced sports media executive, both on the local and international scene, working for companies such as Solar Entertainment and Fox Sports, and now the head for sports with PLDT and the MVP Group. Excited to have next week, Jude Kaboom Torquato. Got any questions for Jude? Hit us up on our Facebook page. See you guys. Robbie?
Thanks, Rels. Miss Dina, your life story so far is one of passion and intention, and we thank you so much for the time, the wisdom, the experience, and the courage that you shared with us and the rest of our listeners. Thanks to you, there's a lot that we can learn from sports, especially in taking action to change the status quo and work toward progress. So maraming salamat po, Miss Dina. To all of our teammates, we're happy to complete the second episode of our inaugural Sports Events Essentials. This year, if you recall, we mentioned that part of our ambition of helping uplift and progress Philippine sports is to provide training and support through the Gold Diggers' podcasts, and our learning series are available right here on the Gold Diggers social media pages. And we couldn't do this without the help of our fellow Gold Digger, athlete, entrepreneur, and TV personality Vince Velasco, who hosts that program. And with the special participation of our guests, we have Abby Aranda of Run Rio, as well as Attorney Inang Calma of Romulo Law Offices. So Vince, Abby, and Attorney Inang, thank you so much for sharing our vision, and more power to all of you. Lastly, let's continue the fundraising with our advocacy pitch and PH, and let's continue helping out our fellow Filipinos who are in most need. Please follow our Facebook page for more details on how you too can pitch in for PH. Now, finally, over to the woman of the hour, Miss Dina Bernardo, your final message for this episode, please.
I sincerely believe that if we all want to see a better Philippine sports, it starts with yourself. It starts with yourself to start caring about how sports is done, to start patronizing sports, to start encouraging everybody else to be in sports. So it starts with us. And again, let's get our act together.
What a way to end our episode for today. So we hope you enjoyed this episode with Dina Go Bernardo on how to challenge the status quo. And that ends our session for today. So catch you on the next episode of The Gold Diggers. So remember to dream, dig in, and win. See you and take care.